While the world is distracted by the daily noise of the stock market and political headlines, a far more dangerous and permanent shift is happening in the shadows of global finance. For 80 years, the US dollar has been the undisputed king, the global greenback that dictated the terms of every trade from oil to microchips. But in February 2026, we have officially entered the era of De-dollarization 2.0. This isn't just a theory anymore. It's a mathematical reality. From the halls of the G20 to the secret testing of Project Agora, the world's most powerful central banks are quietly building an exit ramp. They are moving away from the aging, slow, and weaponized SWIFT system and onto what we call tokenized rails. Imagine a world where a billionaire in Riyadh or a tech firm in Shanghai can move billions in seconds, bypass the New York banking system entirely, and settle trades in programmable digital tokens instead of paper dollars. This is the digital Iron Curtain being drawn across the global economy, and it changes everything you thought you knew about your savings, your investments, and the value of the cash in your pocket. This isn't science fiction. This is the new financial landscape being built right now, and most people are completely unaware. The foundations of the world we've known are being replaced, and the tremors are just beginning. Let's break down what's really happening. The real story of 2026 isn't just about the rise of the BRICS or the volatility of Bitcoin. It's about the collapse of the exorbitant privilege. For decades, the United States could print money to solve any problem because the rest of the world was forced to buy it. This unique power allowed the US to run massive deficits, fund its military, and maintain a standard of living propped up by global demand for its currency. But that free lunch is over. As the US national debt spirals past an eye-watering $35 trillion, and the interest payments alone begin to eat up a huge chunk of the federal budget, the world has finally blinked. Think of it like a credit card that never gets maxed out. For years, the US has been spending, and the world has been footing the bill by holding dollars. But now, the creditors are getting nervous. They see the debt growing, the political instability, and they're starting to look for other places to store their wealth. Under the new leadership at the Federal Reserve, we are seeing a desperate dance. They re-caught between keeping interest rates high enough to kill inflation and low enough to keep the government itself from going bankrupt on its own debt payments. It's an impossible tightrope walk, and every step is shaking the global financial system. Meanwhile, a quiet revolution is taking place. The G20's new tokenized payment rails have just reached 75% adoption among member nations. What does this mean in plain English? It means that countries can now trade directly with each other, instantly and efficiently, without ever touching the US dollar or the SWIFT system. This makes the dollar a choice rather than a necessity. When you're no longer the only game in town, your power diminishes. And when the US dollar is no longer the undisputed king, the inflation tax we've all been paying through a devaluing currency starts to hit home in a big way. We are witnessing the birth of a multipolar world. This isn't about one currency replacing another, like the yuan replacing the dollar. It's far more complex. We're moving toward a system where trade is settled in a basket of digital assets, gold-backed tokens, and local currencies. A Chinese company might pay for Brazilian iron or using a tokenized yuan, which the Brazilian seller can then instantly convert to a digital, real, or even a token backed by gold. The speed and efficiency are mind-boggling. This completely cuts out the middleman which, for 80 years, has been the US banking system. This is a financial revolution on a scale not seen since the Bretton Woods Agreement in 1944, and the window to prepare is closing faster than you think. So, what is this new system, this Project Agora, and these tokenized rails? Let's get into the mechanics. For decades, international payments have relied on the SWIFT network. It's like the postal service for global finance, reliable but slow, expensive, and controlled by a handful of Western powers. If you wanted to send a large sum from, say, South Korea to South Africa, it would have to bounce through several correspondent banks, often in New York or London, taking days and costing a fortune in fees. More importantly, it gave the US the power to cut off entire countries from the global economy with the flip of a switch. Tokenization changes all of that. Project Agora, a collaboration between the Bank for International Settlements and 7 major central banks, is creating a unified platform for wholesale central bank digital currencies. Instead of sending messages about money, they are sending the money itself, as a digital token, on a shared ledger. This is a complete paradigm shift. A transaction that used to take 3 days and multiple intermediaries can now happen in 3 seconds with almost zero cost. This isn't just about speed, it's about control. Nations are tired of having their economic fate tied to the whims of US foreign policy. By creating these independent rails, they are building a financial system that is decentralized, resilient, and outside of American control. The BRICS nations Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, along with their new members, are at the forefront of this. They are actively building and testing alternatives. From payment systems that link their domestic currencies to discussions about a new reserve asset backed by a basket of commodities. This digital iron curtain isn't just separating East from West, it's creating a parallel universe of finance, one where value moves at the speed of light, where contracts are programmable and self-executing, and where the dollar is just one of many options on the menu. As this new system grows, the demand for dollars will inevitably shrink, and according to the basic law of supply and demand, when demand for something falls while its supply is exploding, as is the case with the US dollar, its value must come down. This isn't a prediction, it's an economic certainty. The only question is how fast and how far it will fall. So, where do you hide when the world's reserve currency loses its grip? In 2026, wealth isn't just about what you own, but where it's stored. The winners of this new era won't be those who sat on cash, patiently watching it evaporate. The winners will be those who understood the fundamental shift toward hard assets, energy-linked infrastructure, and the new digital rails. We are moving from an era of passive wealth, where you could just buy an index fund and forget about it, to an era of active survival. First, let's talk about hard assets. For centuries, gold has been the ultimate safe haven in times of monetary crisis. When faith in paper money falters, humanity returns to the one asset that has maintained its value for 5,000 years. But it's not just about gold. Other tangible assets like productive land, real estate in strategic locations, and essential commodities will become critically important stores of value. In a world of infinite digital money, things you can physically touch become priceless. Second, consider energy-linked infrastructure. The global economy runs on energy. As the world reconfigures its trade routes and payment systems, the companies that produce, transport, and refine energy will hold immense power. Investing in the pipelines, the grids, the shipping lanes, and the resource producers of this new multipolar world is a direct bet on the physical economy that underpins the entire financial system. Third, and perhaps most crucially, you need to understand the new digital rails. This doesn't necessarily mean you should pile all your money into speculative cryptocurrency. It means understanding the technology of tokenization. It means looking at the companies building the infrastructure for this new financial system. It means considering assets that can be easily tokenized and traded on these new platforms, giving them global liquidity outside the old dollar system. This could include tokenized real estate, tokenized commodities, or even digital assets backed by gold. Whether you're a retail investor or a business owner, you need to realize that the rules of the game have been rewritten overnight. A business that only accepts dollars might find itself at a competitive disadvantage against one that can transact in multiple digital currencies. An investor whose entire portfolio is denominated in dollars is taking on a risk they may not even be aware of, the risk of the ruler itself shrinking. The dollar isn't going to zero tomorrow. It will remain a major currency for the foreseeable future. But its days as the world's only superpower are done. The transition will be volatile. There will be crises, panics, and moments of extreme uncertainty. But through it all, the trend is clear. We are moving away from a unipolar, dollar-dominated world and toward a multipolar, digitally native financial system. The question isn't whether the system is changing, it's whether you're going to be a victim of the transition or a master of the new order. The era of De-dollarization 2.0 is here. The question is, are you ready for what comes next? Don't be a spectator. Start educating yourself, reevaluating your strategy, and positioning yourself for the undeniable reality of this new financial world. Thank you for watching. If this content provided value, please consider liking and subscribing for more deep dives into the economic shifts that will define our future. Stay informed and stay prepared.